The Eagles organization went all in on Carson Wentz, and that's everybody. Sal Powell said it yesterday. That's Doug Pederson, that's Howie Roseman, and that's Jeffrey Lurie. So what we saw last night, as bad as Wentz might have been, Pete Thompson, it seems that he's the one guy, and you know Jeff Lurie's not going anywhere, so it's either Pederson or Roseman at this point, man.
Yeah, you were saying Pederson, and I heard when you had Sal Powell on the other day, and yeah, that got I sat up like a lightning bolt in my car when I heard him say, like, I don't think he survives a 3 or 4 win season. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know that they get to win number 4. I mean, maybe the Cowboys, maybe the Washington football team gets the win number 4, but things don't look against the Packers, Saints, or Cardinals, that's for sure. And then the question becomes, like, look, Howie got vilified last night on the broadcast. And it wasn't until this morning that my brain locked back in to say, wait a second, that Riddick guy's probably campaigning for his own GM job. So no wonder he's going to keep, killing Howie for all the bad decisions. But we could go through them verse by verse, but I feel like we're playing the broken record again. So maybe both of those guys are gone. Maybe Howie and Doug are gone. And I guess Doug today said he has no assurances that he's going to stay through the end of the season even. So, I mean, like, who knows what takes place?
If it is Howie and it is Doug, I would imagine maybe Schwartzy as well, and you just go for a whole entire new look with things. But, PT, when you watched that game yesterday, what was your biggest takeaway? So mine was, and it wasn't breaking news to me, but at the very end of the game, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but I heard, how do you rebuild this franchise? Because it's broken. So I saw Carson and Jalen Hurts going in, going out. I saw a bunch of obnoxiousness on the football field. But that was my takeaway. What was yours?
I mean, I thought that, on a powerful Seattle offense that can move the football as dangerous as anybody, the defense held their own until they couldn't anymore. It was the offense that was the most pathetic. And that, to me, is a variety of flavors. 31 flavors, the ice cream shop, pick your flavor. Is it lack of talent? Is it quarterback play? Is it that they have the wrong people in the wrong position? Is it play calling? Is it scheming? I mean, they are absolutely pathetic. They get off to a slow start once again, but somehow they actually manage to keep things in check. And then, like a bad nightmare, even when the Eagles scored right before the half, Jake Elliott misses the goddamn point after touchdown, the extra point. I mean, like, you can't even get that right. You score, and yet you're supposed to have some positive feeling, and he hooks the extra point. You got to be kidding me. So, I mean, my takeaway is that it's a franchise that's not broken in one area. It's broken in several areas.
Several areas is accurate. And the biggest question, I guess, is you can't get rid of the quarterback. Are you so broken at the coach that you have to consider making a change there? And that's with your quarterback broken. That's the fact of the matter is there's no guarantee that Carson Wentz is going to turn things around with just a quarterback change. Some people, I know Broads is one of them, think, hey, if you have a different offense in here, he probably does a better job. I'm on the other side that would say if you can't execute the most basic of throws, how are we expecting you to execute a more advanced offense?
Yeah, I mean, are you trying to say, like, let's use Sean McVay's offense, for example, that, if you instantly subbed out Doug Pederson and you put Sean McVay in, would that make Carson Wentz all of a sudden an all-pro and he's unbelievable and the throws get more accurate? I don't think so. I mean, that's where you also have to blame Carson. I mean, that's why each overlapping part gets a piece of the blame. So to me, I don't think there's some coach out there that's going to automatically, magically fix Carson and make him all of a sudden be a more accurate, stronger, better quarterback. And yes, they are missing fundamental throws. They're missing little short throws, and then you have guys not on the same page. I mean, that was, Gil, I try to never leave a game. Because my father always said, I don't care if we're getting blown out 40-0. We paid a lot of money for this ticket. You're sitting your ass in that seat. And I've kept that mentality, whether I'm home or whether I'm watching it on TV or whether I'm actually at the stadium. I always stay to the end. And boy, last night when that drive killer happened and Goddard and Wentz weren't on the same page, I think I tweeted this out. I said, that's it. I'm going to bed. I don't need to watch the end. I'm done. Like, I can't take it anymore.
Not to relive a horrendous moment by me, but if you remember, I did leave that Stadium Series game early, and I heard Claude Giroux's game-winning call on the radio as I was coming back from the Walt Whitman. So that does scar me hopefully down the road I don't make that poor decision again. But when it comes to what you were saying about if you have Sean McVay, does Carson Wentz automatically become this unbelievable quarterback again? No, I don't think that that's the case at all. I think that there's a lot of personnel issues with this team that plays a role. I just look at this and I just feel that everyone sucks. Really, that's just how I feel, that you can rip Carson Wentz to shreds and you're not wrong. You can rip Doug Pederson to shreds, you're not wrong. You can rip wide receivers for not getting open. You can rip the offensive line. I mean, there's just so many horrible things that are occurring with this team that if some of that is fixed, will you see better play out of Carson Wentz? Yes, I do think that is the case. But maybe you look at it and say, if Carson Wentz plays better, then those are fixed. I see it the way I originally stated it, though. If some of those other areas are fixed, you're putting your quarterback in a better spot to succeed, and that's the way that I look at it personally.
I mean, and the thing that baffles me the most, Broads, is the disconnect. I mean, it'd be one thing, like if Richard Rodgers and Carson Wentz aren't on the same page, all right, fine. That I understand, right? But Dallas Goedert and Carson Wentz, they've played together before. I mean, this shouldn't be confusing to them, like which way the play is going to go. I mean, that the self-inflicted wounds of the offense, I mean, not the least of which is they started off 0 for 5 on third downs until they finally got their feet under them and started moving the football with a little up-tempo. The up-tempo seemed to be working. They were 8 for 12 after they went 0 for 5 to start. So that was like some positive stuff. And then yet it's just sitting out there looming where, gee, is Alshon Jeffrey going to give 100% on this ball? I mean, I'm sorry. I tweeted this out, or maybe I messaged some people last night. Alshon Jeffrey is stealing money. He is stealing. He is the biggest thief in the city of Philadelphia. I mean, that guy, yes, he helped them win a Super Bowl, and he helped them win a Lombardi trophy, and he sucked it up and he played hurt. But I am sorry. This guy is stealing money, and he's stealing a roster spot right now, and that pisses me off too.
You know what's interesting? You just said two things. One, yes, Jeffrey doesn't seem to be, although, there's a couple plays where he's open. He caught the pass very nicely that Jalen Hurts threw. He was open there, caught that thing very nicely. But by the way, Hurts threw it accurately to him. I mean, he threw it to him where he could catch it, and, he didn't have to stop his route. But you did say something about Wentz in that when they went up-tempo, they didn't do anything crazy. They didn't do anything flashy. But the up-tempo, he looked decisive. He looked quick in terms of, boom, get the ball out of my hands. He did have that drive that he did look more decisive. So the point I'm making with this whole thing is, if you just have him playing with accurate, quick decisiveness, it can work. They scored a touchdown when he was quick, accurate, and decisive. That's when they scored. So that's been my point all along is there's plays to be made. And when Wentz made the plays, voila, they scored a touchdown. They didn't do anything bonkers. They just went a little up-tempo. So when he is making quick, accurate, decisive decisions, it can work. They just need him to do this more often.
I couldn't agree more. And he did, remember on that series, he also got 13 yards on the QB draw, right? When they ended the third down thing, they ended it by finding Miles Sanders. And even when Wentz tries to get out of his own way, he chased down that bad snap and then threw it out of bounds, right? And, I mean, we all agree that was intentional grounding. They got away with one there. I mean, so, look, you're supposed to take breaks and capitalize on them. And like I said, they score, and then Jake Elliott misses the extra point. I mean, that sends you into halftime. If he makes the extra point 14-7, all right, we're in this thing. Let's go in and scheme some things up and draw some things up different and figure out what we could do better. Instead, it's like, wah, 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 wah.
But here's my counter to it, because this is how I see it. You're not wrong, Gil, for saying that when he is decisive and he is thinking quick, boom, it's working and the offense is moving. But if I'm a coach and I see that this is how my offense best operates, why do I never do it?
You can't play.
Why do you
can't play up tempo the whole game. I mean,
you can do it a lot more than what he does.
No, I mean, there's not a team in the league that plays at that pace. Chip Kelly tried it and it didn't work.
It doesn't have to be to the Chip Kelly pace, but it could be a lot more than 1 or 2 drives in a football game. It works. This is what your quarterback is good at. Now, the rolling to the outside, people don't like to hear it, whatever. When he does it, he succeeds more. One time. I don't need it to be every play. one time a game is flat out not good enough. And for someone like yourself who claims that a handful of plays can be the difference, knowing that he's put in a better situation in those moments, 3 more times could be the difference in those plays that you mentioned that can change the outcome of games. And that's where I can't stand what this coach is doing sometimes.
How about the game plan, Hunter? Who's drawing up the game plan? If the old Bill Walsh thing was to script the first 15 plays, who the hell's writing the game plan? Is it Rodney Dangerfield or Sam Kinison? Because it's a joke. I mean, these game plans are awful. You know, you sit back and you look at it. They had 6 points and 7 first downs in the first half, 74 total yards in the first half. It took 6 possessions until they could get a first down, right? I mean, that's brutal. And when you think about points that they put up in the first half, they're 29th in first half scoring. They have 94 points. You got the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Jets are the only ones that have scored fewer points in the first 2 quarters. The Eagles are awful. 33 points on the first 2 possessions. How about here's a news flash. Why don't you go out and actually have a scripted play or a scripted series that works? Go down, score, take the lead. Shocker. What would that be like? Actually play with the lead instead of ham and egging it until now you're behind and you're always playing catch-up. That just hasn't happened this season.
Nope, they got a lot of problems. The offensive line is going to be a big. You know, here's another thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine about this afternoon. Okay, right now the Eagles I think are like 8th, 7th, 6th, somewhere like that in the draft. All right. Well, you're not drafting a quarterback, so being that high in the draft, what do you target at that spot? I mean, they need a wide receiver, it appears, again. Do you draft a receiver in the top 10? They need an offensive lineman. Do you draft an offensive lineman at number 6 in the draft? And you have Andre Dillard. You got Brandon Brooks coming back. You've got Lane Johnson hopefully coming back. I mean, so unless it's usually a tackle, you're not drafting a guard at number 6. You're not drafting a linebacker at number 6. Being high in the draft sounds great, but what area makes the most sense if you're in the top 10 of the draft?
My gut instinct or my answer to that would be a wide out, but then I don't trust them to get it right since they keep blowing it on all the other guys. You know what I mean? Like, and even if they get the right guy, you know, or they find a hidden treasure. I mean, Travis Fulgham wasn't drafted, but he's horribly unused, right? Jalen Reagor they drafted, and then the kid gets hurt and they got bad luck. You know, I mean, like DK Metcalf, look, and I couldn't believe this. You know, when you guys heard that Jim Schwartz had the cojones to go up and say, well, I was in Detroit with Megatron and you're no Megatron. What are you, a moron? Are you trying to put to hell with bulletin board material? He verbally gave the guy incentive to go out and torch him. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that was taken out of context from what I'm hearing afterwards. There was some discussions about it. So, you know, take that for what it is. But in terms of the draft pick, 2 things come to mind, and I don't know if they'd go down this road and if there's a quarterback available that another team would want to jump up that much, but would you trade down for maybe another pick to acquire another pick?
100%.
Or do you go outside outside corner?
I would say 100% you are fielding offers because you're in a spot that being in the top 10, I don't know. I mean, how much do they know about and trust Andre Dillard? Or do you say, you know what, we need a left tackle. Although Jordan Mailata, I mean, you got Mailata. Do you trust him enough? So are you ready to replace Lane Johnson? Are you going to draft a guy in the first round again at tackle and say, well,
I don't think it's the time for linemen yet. I don't.
But the line's so bad this year. I mean, listen to what you just said.
And you don't know that Lane Johnson is going to come back at 100%. I mean, look, he obviously tried to come back several times this season and couldn't do it. Is this a career-ending injury? The nagging injuries tend to turn into I can't be the same player again kind of injury.
No, I'm with you, Gil. I am saying that the offensive line is a major issue, but that's where this roster is right now. It's horribly flawed. And if I look at outside corner, can I have something manageable when healthy with Brooks and Lane Johnson if you can rely on them? Can you salvage a season with the offensive linemen a little healthier than this season to get yourself that outside corner that you need? Because you know that opposite side of Slade just isn't working at all. So if healthy, can you salvage a season with the line that you have with Lane, Brandon Brooks, and Dillard.
Right. I mean, I know the receiver class is supposed to be pretty good again. Patrick Surtain is the Alabama kid. He would be a guy. Farley from Virginia Tech. So there are a couple corners in this draft. Micah Parsons, he's a linebacker. But, I mean, do any of us here think the Eagles are going to take a linebacker in the first round? Now, if Roseman's gone, and if we all think Roseman, here's the thing. I don't think we put enough stock into this. Andy Reid built the blueprint for the Eagles on how to build their franchise. They don't draft running backs. They don't draft linebackers. They draft linemen. They don't draft wide receivers. They build on the offense and defensive line. That's how Andy Reid did it. That's how he does it in Kansas City. They don't draft wide receivers in the first round. They got Tyreek Hill in the fifth. You get your franchise quarterback, you build a line in front of them, and then you hope to find these other pieces. That's the blueprint the Eagles have been following here. So I don't know if that comes from Jeffrey Lurie. That's my point here. I don't know that Jeffrey Lurie's the one that says, hey, this is the way we're building this team. We're not drafting linebackers because Andy Reid said that's not what you do. You know what I mean? So the philosophy of this organization, is it coming from Jeff Lurie that's saying we're not going to do this because this is the way Andy would have done it?
Yeah, well, and that's a problem, Mike Gill. Like, you're not going to change the owner either. You know, just like we're angry with John Middleton right now and the way he's running the Phillies, you sit back and there was, a huge piece about Jeffrey Lurie and how the tenure goes as Eagles owner with his coaches. You know, I mean, Andy Reid, I think all three of us would agree, Andy Reid's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame, right? Now that he's ended up finally crossing the Rubicon and getting his Super Bowl, Andy Reid, we never said
he's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches in NFL history.
Thank you, but that's the only coach that Lurie has hired that has broken the pattern of, taking it from miserable to winning, but back to miserable again. You can't. Who do you put that on? Who do you put that on? The one constant then is Jeffrey Lurie is the owner. So if the owner is involved and he's contributing to bringing in a GM that can't. I mean, are we going to indict Howie and say that Howie isn't? He's a cap guy, but he's not a talent guy. Is that the way you label Howie now? Or do you label Howie as somebody that can find talent? In 2017, we were ready to give Howie his own parade down Broad Street because he found all these gems and Jay Ajayi and he found LeGarrette Blount and he was able to make these quick moves and pick up pieces to fit. All of a sudden, Howie Roseman's an idiot and a moron? I mean, I don't know.
Very interesting. I know it's going to be debated over the last couple of weeks of this season because everybody, as each game goes, it just frustrates people more and more and more. Peter, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. We missed you at the game. Thankfully, you gave up your ticket so some worthy person could go.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys. You did an excellent job and a nice job that they were able to play that. And Holy Spirit, number 2 in the whole state, Mike Gill. That surprised me. And for the first time in a long time, a public team ended up as the number 1 team in the entire state of New Jersey. I was shocked by that, too.
Well, Pete Thompson, of course, Tuesday with Thompson. He's back for the happy hour Friday. We'll talk about the Eagles and the Packers and everything else that's going on. Peter, take care, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you.